Hello everybody, welcome. My name is Lonwabo Fololo. I am the CEO and founder of the Wealth Academy. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to prevent your house from going into repossession. So in today's economic climate where people are losing jobs, companies are laying off, we're living in an area right now of rising interest rates. Now this puts a lot of pressure on many families. On so many different things. People are, deciding to go out less. People are, have got less disposable income because of, their exposure to debt and so forth. Now, if you find yourself in the position where, your income, maybe you've lost one, income from your household. Now you've only got one instead of the two that you normally had. You find yourself that you're in a situation where you can foresee that you're actually going to get behind on your payment requirements for your bond. How do you make sure that you don't get to a point whereby your house actually does get repossessed by the bank and is sold at auction, and you might find yourself that you're still having to pay off some money? Because people who go on auction, let's face it, they're all bargain hunting. Nobody goes there to buy the full market value at an auction. So tip number one, you want to make sure that you contact the lender as soon as possible. As soon as you foresee that something is going to happen, you might be missing out, or the bond installment is a bit too high. You see that you're not going to be able to afford it. You want to make sure that you contact the lender as soon as possible. Don't wait up until you miss a payment or some payments. Make sure that you contact the lender as soon as possible. Why this is important? This is simply because you might find that almost all the banks or financial institutions have got a way whereby they can actually help you out with your situation. Now, this might mean that they might put you as a distressed seller, where they do what is called an assisted sale, where they help you to sell your property at the full market value. And in the time where you have applied to be a distressed seller, what the bank does, they will normally allow you not to pay your bond, or they will allow you to pay a reduced bond amount. But in this period, they will help you to be able to find a buyer. But this they can only do for a certain period of time. So that is why you want to make sure that you contact your lender as soon as possible and find out what programs do they have in place, so that they can help you to make sure that your property does not get repossessed. So tip number two, consider a loan modification. Now, you might find that maybe your bond was over a 20-year period. You might find that you're paying X amount of interest and so forth. You might find that if you go to the bank and you say to them, this is my situation, which is the best way for me to modify, my payment terms? And of course, you'll have to play open cards to the bank, show them what your disposable income is, show them how much, you can be able to afford. They will then be able to help you to modify your interest. This might actually involve extending your bond term from 20 years to 30 years. It might actually involve, refinancing your property. So the banks have got a slew of possibilities that they can help you with if you tell them that you are in this particular situation and you want to consider, modifying your payment terms for your bond. So tip number three, sell your property. Now, if you go to the bank and you say you want to sell your property, of course, they will then put you on a certain program where they've got, certain estate agents who are accredited for assisting you with the sale. But that has its own limitations as well. So you might find that if you can, whilst you're in the process of selling your property, you can be able to service your bond, which would actually be the best thing that you can do. There are different ways where you can sell your property. One of them is you can consider selling your property on an installment sale agreement. Now, this might be the most favorable way of selling your property. Now, what is an installment sale agreement? Now, an installment sale agreement allows you to basically get someone to take over your bond installment. Now, let's say your market value for your property is worth 1.2 million rand. And your outstanding bond on the property, let's say it's 800,000, right? But then we find that we are in an era of rising interest rate, and therefore it's a buyer's market because a lot of properties are staying on the market for longer. as less and less people actually qualifying for bonds. But you might find that there is a person out there, or institutions or people who are property investors, who might not necessarily qualify for the bond, but when it comes to cash flow, those people have got, a lot of cash flow that they can be able to basically service the bond for you. Now, how an installment sale agreement basically works is that these people can take over your bond. You can actually even put a premium on the value of your property. So if your property value is 1.2 million, you can actually even sell it for 1.3 million, because not a lot of people actually know how the installment sale agreement works, and not a lot of people actually want to sell via the installment sale agreement, right? So if you put a premium and you sell it for 1.3 million, what will happen is that you can then dictate the terms of how these people are going to pay you. You can say that, they will take over the bond, of which there's an X amount of that you owe to the bank, and they can basically pay you the difference. They can either do this in cash, or you can agree on a certain amount that they're going to pay you every single month, which then gives you cash for you to start your life all over. It gives you cash for you to be able to have cash flow, for a few months while you're still sorting your situation out to make sure that you're in the position in the near future to be able to buy another property. Now, these people have got 5 years to basically pay off your property. The advantage of this is that the bond is still in your name, even though there is a Section 20 endorsement on the title deed, meaning that you cannot now go ahead and sell the property to the second buyer or to the third buyer, and thereby duping, the other or the first buyer. So the Section 20 endorsement means that you cannot sell the property without their consent, and of course without the bank's consent as well, who is also a party to this agreement. Now, the good thing about this is that, maybe your credit history might have been severely affected because of whatever has happened in your financial circumstances. If these people continue paying off this bond, this basically, is a plus on your own credit history. So they might help you to basically improve your credit scoring in the process of them, taking over the property. So this is another, plus for you as a seller, apart from the fact that you get to have, this disposable income, which is, in excess to what you owe to the bank. So that's one option of selling your property. Or you can sell the property to the open market at the market value. But you have to understand that in the time we're living in right now, currently, we are in a buyer's market, and therefore that means that properties are staying on the market a little bit longer because of the rising interest rate. So tip number 4, you might want to consider switching lenders. Now, let's say that you had a bond with Bank X. You might find that apart, from the traditional banks that we do have in South Africa that will, bond your property, there's also other institutions like your SA Home Loans and many others. And you might find that these lenders, they've got a much, freer lending criteria. You might find that you're actually able to structure your bond in such a way that maybe for the first 5 years, you're paying X amount, and of which you are even servicing the interest, because you might find that there are institutions that will allow you to only service your interest in the first 5 years or in the first 2-3 years, and then later on, switch to having to also pay off the capital plus the interest, as with other normal financial institutions. You might want to consider switching off your lender, because you might find that there are actually lenders out there who still have an appetite, who might be in a position to give you, a less stringent lending criteria, and they might allow you to even service only the interest, for the next year or two, whilst you're busy sorting out your financial situation to make sure that you're in a better financial position to be able to service both the interest and the capital on your bond. Our final tip for this video: you might want to consider renting out your property. Now, you might find that your bond installment and versus the amount of rental you can get, obviously based on so many different factors, based on where your property is located. Is it in proximity to all the amenities, schools, shopping centers, workplaces? You might find that there might be a higher demand for rental for your particular property. You might even put it on Airbnb. You might even want to rent out even a portion of your property so that you can get disposable income. I know of people, who have huge homes and they have a portion of their property that they're basically putting out on Airbnb so that they can earn extra income on their property and that they can be able to afford paying off their bonds. So family, the key highlights in this video: you want to contact the lender as soon as possible. Let them know of your situation, see how they can help you. I can promise you that banks and other financial institutions, they've actually got a way where they can help you out of your situation. So key takeaway number 2 is you might want to consider modifying your loan. Again, go to your financial institution. They'll be able to give you options if you want to consider modifying your loan, maybe moving it from a 20-year bond to a 30-year bond, as long as that will allow you to have a breather. Key takeaway number 3, you might want to switch lenders. You might find that other lenders have got a much more freer lending criteria as opposed to your current lender for your bond. Key takeaway number 4, you might want to consider selling your home. There's various options for selling your home. You can put it in the open market. You can also sell it on installment sale agreement. So key takeaway number 5, you might want to consider renting your property or renting a portion of your property. You might even want to put a portion of your property or on Airbnb to make sure that you're earning yourself some extra income. That's it from us, family, at the Wealth Academy. If you found value in this video, click subscribe, click on the notification bell. Make sure that you do not miss any of our upcoming videos. Follow us as well on our social media, as we do share some tips on a daily basis there that can help you to build a property portfolio, making sure that you're able to create wealth for yourself and for your family. That's it. Take care.